country bus. But then, away from the transport sector, let's now shift our focus to the countdown to the general election. And today is exactly 1 year to the August 9th, 2022 general election. With the current political temperatures already rising, all eyes are on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is IEBC, as it prepares to deliver a free, fair and credible election. The electoral body, in a race against time to gazette election campaign regulations that had been deferred back in 2017. KTN's Emmanuel Toh reports as the clock ticks in the run-up to what is set to be Kenya's biggest election yet.
The Constitution of Kenya requires that a general election be held on the second Tuesday of August in every fifth year. Monday, 9th August 2021, is exactly 1 year to that date. With political teams already assembling their top guns for the battle, the spotlight is now shifting on the referee, the IEBC.
IEBC should not contemplate postponement of any elections. I want to urge them to stick to the rule of law. We need elections after every 5 years.
Parliament is any time this week set to debate the appointment of Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi, Irene Cherop, and Justice Abonyo, who have been nominated as new IEBC commissioners.
We still are aware and concerned as Kenyans that to date, since the exit of Ezra Chiloba as the Chief Executive Officer of IEBC, the position of Chief Executive Officer of IEBC has not been substantively filled.
Similarly, IEBC has until close of business Monday, 9th August, to gazette the draft Elections Campaign Financing Regulations 2021, which seeks to cap electoral campaign spending by aspirants. The money debate has also had the Treasury chip in, as it seeks to have the budget in place early due to the general election.
Somebody was suggesting that can the Parliament pass them before Monday 9th? I said, Parliament is also not a miracle worker.
As we launch the budget preparation process, we need to be alive that our economy is not fully recovered.
This follows another packed calendar in the run-up to the next year's polls. Currently, IEBC is conducting the first phase of mass voter registration, targeting 7 million Kenyans. The process that began on August 2nd will end on August 16th. The second phase is slated for December 6th to December 20th. By December 9, 2021, 8 months before the general election, political aspirants are expected to have concluded their fundraising exercises. The timelines also dictate that civil servants seeking to run for office should resign by February 9, 2022. This will be exactly 6 months to the general election. Party primaries are also slated for April 16 to April 22nd. The Commission will then gazette the names by April 16th. By June 20th, the list of all nominated candidates will be ready. The certified register of voters will be generated and gazetted on May 2nd, 2022, 3 months to the polls. Nomination for presidential candidates will take place between May 30th and June 10th next year. Thereafter, official campaigns will run from May 10 to August 6th, which is 2 days to polling day.
The anomalies that constituted the illegalities and irregularities, as pointed out by the Supreme Court in the 2017 presidential election, have not been conducted in a manner or addressed in a manner to show that IEBC is now moving forward to overcome such kind of challenges in the next general election.
I want to urge IEBC to come up with unique ideas like decentralizing their servers so that citizens of this country can have information as to tallying of the presidential vote.
Finally, the deployment of polling station personnel and material will take place on August 8, just a day to the election day on August 9th. Emmanuel Toh, KTN News, Nairobi.
Still on matters election, I'd like us to cross over to a live event where the IEBC is currently having a media stakeholders consultative meeting on how to be carrying out next year's general election on the 9th of August 2022. So cross over live and listening to what the chairperson of the IEBC, that is Ofula Chebukati, is saying.
Kenya Union of Journalists, invited guests who include the ORPP, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm pleased to address you on this particular meeting, 1 year to the 2022 general elections. And I want to state that the Commission shall conduct the next general elections on the 9th of August 2022. And this is pursuant to Article 136(2) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. So today marks the beginning of 1 year countdown, that is 365 days to election day. And as part of the preparation towards the general election, the Commission launched its strategic plan 2020 to 2024 and the elections operations plan on the 15th of June 2021. These documents are readily available on our website for those who may not be having copies. And I invite Kenyans to familiarize with these two documents, which provide a roadmap and timelines for the election calendar. Let me take this earliest opportunity to reiterate that the Commission is committed to deliver free, fair, and credible elections in 2022 general elections. The Commission equally remains committed to engaging all stakeholders in the process, and we have an open door policy which fosters citizen participation to the electoral process. In that regard, the Commission wishes to recognize the key role the media plays in disseminating information as well as influencing and shaping public opinion and agenda. It is recognition of this role of the media that the Commission endeavors to work with the media sector to ensure that factual information is disseminated to the public. I therefore laud the initiative by the Kenya Media Sector Working Group to partner with the Commission in the area of election media reporting. As we may remember, I think we met in Diani, South Coast, on the 3rd of July 2021, where we discussed matters related to the 2022 elections. And I'm pleased to note that we are building up from that successful meeting, and I hope that our collaboration today will result into setting up a joint task force as we move towards the general election will be of much use to the country. The 1 year countdown begins today, and it's important to note that the media and the country at large pays attention to key electoral processes. I'll mention a few, but these processes, starting with voter registration, nomination of candidates, campaign period, polling day activities, of course, counting after polling, announcement of results, and electoral dispute resolution. These are areas that I want to take this opportunity to address, but the media is part and parcel of all these processes that the Commission will have to undertake. And they all have a bearing on the coming elections. But let me just highlight a few areas which I've been seeing in the public discourse as it relates to elections. The first one is the issue of the 2/3 gender rule. One of the issues of focus is the attainment of what is popularly referred to as the 2/3 gender rule. Article 81B of the Constitution provides that not more than 2/3 of the members of elective bodies shall be of the same gender. This provision has been attained in the county assemblies where we do gender top-up through party list model. However, the realization of the 2/3 gender rule has remained elusive in Parliament, with several unsuccessful attempts at providing legislation to operationalize the principle. On its part, the High Court of Kenya, in the case of Katiba Institute versus IEBC in 2017, issued, among others, orders directing political parties to take measures to formulate rules and regulations for purpose of actualizing the 2/3 gender principle during nomination of the 290 best elective positions for members of the National Assembly and 47 county-based elective positions, that is, members of the Senate. In default, the IEBC was directed to devise administrative mechanisms to ensure that two-thirds principle was realized among political parties during nomination exercises for parliamentary elections. And the Commission was directed to reject any nomination list of our political party for its candidates for the 290 constituencies and 47 county-based elections for position of Senate that do not comply with the two-thirds agenda principle. The Commission shall therefore comply with the orders of the court by ensuring that political parties' nomination lists for elective positions in the Senate and National Assembly comply with two-thirds gender rule before they are accepted by the commissions for purposes of candidates' nomination. And this, we have had a meeting with the PPLC in the past to inform them of this judgment, and these discussions are ongoing, and we shall continue engaging them so that we all comply with the orders of the court. The other issue I want to touch on, and this will form part of a bigger presentation by Professor Goulier, is the issue of results, management of transmission and management of election results. There's a whole discussion slated after this. During this meeting, the Commission will make a detailed presentation on the election results management. However, I wish to reiterate that electronic and physical transmission of election results from the polling stations to the national, county, and national tallying center is a critical component of election results management framework. The current election legislation stipulates that elections are conducted and results announced at polling stations. Results as announced at the polling stations are final. Section 39(1)(c) requires that the Commission to electronically transmit and physically deliver the tabulated results of an election for the President from a polling station to the constituent tallying center and national tallying center. And therefore, to ensure transparency in the results management process, the Commission shall allow accredited media access to polling stations and tallying centers to cover the vote counting, announcement, collation, and declaration of results. And that is part of what the working group will be giving us the modalities of effectively carrying out that exercise. Another area I want to touch on is election offenses and the code of conduct. I think I've heard the previous speakers talk about harassment of the media, journalists, and IEBC staff, which we have witnessed in the recent by-elections. We have also seen already what we are seeing outside there through social media is voter bribery has already commenced, and I'm happy the DPP is here, who is charged with the responsibility of investigating and prosecuting all election offenses under the Election Offences Act. As a commission, we have engaged security personnel, starting with the Inspector General of Police, the DCI, and the Office of the ODPP, where we have had several meetings, and we shall continue engaging these officers so that we can have a proper management of security in the 2022 general elections. And I want to believe the DPP will be addressing that issue. On our part as a commission, we shall strictly enforce the Electoral Code of Conduct that comes into force during the campaign period. The code empowers the Commission's Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee to penalize candidates and political parties that perpetrate electoral malpractice during the campaign period, including violence, intimidation, discrimination, and the destruction of campaign materials. In 2017, the aggrieved parties filed a total of 71 complaints, out of which 31 were prosecuted and accused persons found culpable, 2 defaulted the orders of the committee and were disqualified from contesting. 14 were found not culpable and the matters were dismissed for lack of merit, and 3 were dismissed by order of the High Court. 3 were withdrawn, 3 complaints were withdrawn, and 4 stayed by the High Court through judicial review. The disputes emanated from breach of code of conduct, touching on campaigns leading to violence, plagiarism, and or use of symbols of other candidates. We also had independent candidates using symbols of the parties where they had failed to clinch nomination, destruction or defacing of campaign materials of other candidates. These were some of the issues that came before us. Another issue that I've seen in the public discourse is the resignation of public officers 6 months to elections. And this is clearly captured in Section 43(3) of the Elections Act, which provides that a public officer who intends to contest an election under this Act shall resign from the public office at least 6 months before the date of election. We have seen some discussion in the public, but for general information, the Commission would like to remind all public officers of the decision of the Court of Appeal case at Nyeri Civil Application number 62 of 2017, where the judges stayed the judgment from the Labor and Employment Relations Court, which was issued in Kericho by Justice Marete. Remember that judgment? Justice Marete had allowed public servants to, among other things, that they go campaign. If they fail, they come back to the office, and that they don't have to resign 6 months to. But the Court of Appeal stayed that judgment, meaning that public officers who wish to contest in the upcoming general election must resign 6 months to the general election. That remains the law, and that must be complied with. So that should remove any doubt to those who think there's a judgment of the court that will allow them to work until the last day. Let them leave, resign and go, and let other Kenyans take those positions. Election campaign financing law. Yesterday I saw some coverage on this. The Commission, in compliance with sections 18 and 19 of the Election Campaign Financing Act of number 42 of 2013, set expenditure limits for candidates and parties for the 2022 general elections. The limits set by the Commission have been sent to the government printer for publication in the Kenya Gazette. The Commission wishes to notify the public that provisions of Section 18 of the Act gives the Commission authority to vary the limits by notice in the Gazette, so that when the publication comes out, any stakeholder who wishes to seek variation is free to inform the Commission, and that then will be considered. I also wish to state that in the year 2016, actually on 25th of July 2016, the Commission submitted to Parliament the election campaign financing regulations, which to date have not been approved and or enacted. And we are urging Parliament to approve and enact these regulations so that we can have a smooth operation of the election finance, the Financing Act, the Election Campaign Finance Act. So the regulations have been with Parliament since 2016. All the Commission did the other day or a week ago was to remind Parliament that we need these regulations. And Parliament can pass these regulations now or any time. Those regulations are not bound by the 12 months period. But as a Commission, we have taken the initiative to gazette the timelines, not timelines, sorry. We have gazetted the limits, and we shall be able to proceed from there. Lastly, I want to talk about funding. The Commission requires adequate funding to implement electoral activities as outlined in the Election Operations Plan. For purposes of the 2022 general election, the Commission prepared budget and requires 40.329 billion to carry out all activities in the Election Operation Plan. And we require further 588 million for purpose of procuring items to be used in the COVID-19 protocols, which include the thermometer guns, sanitizers, soap, and washing points, which brings the total election budget to 40.917 billion. As you are aware, we have been allocated 26.34 billion by National Treasury, and there is leaving a deficit of 14.577 billion, which means that we're falling short, so that you have cases where activities like mass voter registration, which require 30 days, it means we have cut down to 15 days. So we expected to cut down on the staff at the polling stations. All these activities are based on the legal framework. So you cannot have 3 clerks instead of 6. So this amount we're asking for is actually the bare minimum, and we're urging National Treasury to provide sufficient funds so that the activities of the Commission in managing the elections are not disrupted. As I conclude, I wish to encourage each one of us to keep alive this conversation on elections preparation so that Kenyans are well informed of the processes and activities within the election calendar. And I wish all of us a fruitful engagement. I now take this opportunity to declare this meeting officially open. And thank you very much, and may God bless all of us.
Thank you so much, Chair, for those remarks. So that brings to the end.
All right, right there a few minutes ago was the chairperson of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, making some strong statement when it comes to next year's general election. Remember, the countdown to the next general election, the 9th of August, 2022, begins today. And let me just recap a few things, the most important things he's talked about. One, he says that they need enough funding for next year's general election. So far, National Treasury has given IEBC 40.6 billion shillings, but they need 40.7 billion shillings to ask to ensure that the election that will be carried out next year is free, fair and credible. Something else he's talked about, he said that he's urging Parliament also to pass that election campaign financing act that they took to Parliament back in 2016, saying it does not need 12 months to be implemented as suggested by Parliament. It needs a shorter period of time so as to be accountable, that every candidate will be accountable for the financing they will be receiving for their campaigns. Also talking about gender parity, saying this is something that IEBC will keenly look into, especially when it comes to nomination of candidates for various political parties. Remember, so far, 4 names of new commissioners, nominated commissioners, have been forwarded to President Uhuru Kenyatta to approve, then forward the names to Parliament for vetting and final approval so that they can join the Wafula Chebukati-led commission, so that that commission can have a complete commission that will have all the commissioners in place. And of course, early this year, mid this year, they launched the strategic plan and the operation plan that was launched by the commission to provide a roadmap on how the elections will be done. So what is happening in Mombasa It's just a media consultative meeting with stakeholders within the media industry, just saying that they will also allow the media to get access to how elections will be done when it comes to voting, counting, and also the transmission of the results. So much things. He's talked about so many things, but the most important things are what I've talked to you about. But also, remember that starting today, KTN News will be coming to you every Monday from 6 to 1 p.m. with Kivumbi 2022. We'll be giving you an in-depth coverage, actually not from 1 p.m. but until 11 p.m. We'll be bringing you Kivumbi 2022 with, through your most qualified station when it comes to the full coverage of how the election program will be. Wall-to-wall coverage of the 2022 general election countdown begins today also with us here on KTN News. So we shall take an in-depth look at the issues of the election, right from voter registration, nomination of candidates, how political parties are carrying out the elections, only the things that matter to you. Tough questions will be asked to those seeking elective positions from members of parliament, MCAs, governors, senators, and crunch the numbers for you. We'll tell you what colors the various vote baskets are, and check the facts and seek to separate from, to separate actually the truth from the lies from our politicians, what they tell us. Are they telling us the truth, or are they saying lies? And at the end of the day, you, Kenyan, you, our viewer, will have the final say on the 9th of August 2022 as you head to the polls to elect the President of the Republic of Kenya, together with the Deputy President, members of Parliament, members of Parliament, senators, MPs, MCAs, and also women representatives. So Kivumbi 2022 begins today as we begin the countdown to the next general election, the 9th of August. The year is 2022, even as the IEBC have begun their election countdown today with that launch of the Media Stakeholders Forum that is happening in Mombasa. We've had it from Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chairperson. So, another short commercial break here on KTN News Center. I'll be right back with more news making the headlines.